Today we got two monstrously powerful heroes going head to head. World Breaker Hulk versus Death Seed Sentry. Who comes out on top? Well, let's find out.
Eyes up. Stay sharp. Stay down. Final warning. I could do this all day.
After being bombarded with a massive dose of gamma radiation while saving a young man's life during the testing of an experimental bomb, Dr. Robert Bruce Banner was transformed into the Incredible Hulk, a green behemoth who is the living personification of rage and pure physical strength. But today we're not going to be using any old version of the Hulk, but World Breaker Hulk, who has repeatedly been called one of the strongest iterations of the Hulk we've ever seen. And just to make things even more interesting, let's also include feats from World War Hulk, as when you boil it down, World Breaker Hulk is basically World War Hulk who was no longer holding back. Basically the same character. So when World War Hulk came to Earth, Dr. Strange said that Hulk had never been stronger before. Said it twice. And Amadeus Cho even said Hulk was holding back the entire event, and he really could have killed all of them if he wanted to. Hulk was strong enough to beat the Iron Man World War Hulk Buster, take down She-Hulk with just one punch, quickly take down Juggernaut, laid a massive beatdown on Hercules, and even beat a confident Sentry in hand-to-hand combat. Although, yes, technically Bruce Banner did knock out Bob Reynolds, it was Hulk that did most of the heavy lifting there. Hulk was also able to take down Kitty Pryde and Ghost Rider for Thunderclap, and even altered the moon's gravity with his shockwaves. Hulk's durable enough to take attacks on pretty much every super being of Earth, including Hercules, Sentry, and Juggernaut. But also started attacks that are powerful enough to send chunks of the moon the size of Rhode Island flying into space, and it was said that nukes would only make him more powerful. He also wasn't even bothered by the Human Torch's Nova Blast, Cyclops Blast, and Ghost Rider's Fire. He instantly healed from having his eyes slashed out, rocks phased into his arm, being pierced with adamantium shrapnel, having a hole punched through his lungs by a Sentry, and a hole punched through his chest by Dr. Strange, and even took a death touch that was designed to overload his healing factor. All these attacks he healed through pretty much instantly. This version of the Hulk is also surprisingly fast, as he can move and attack in a blur, create super impacts with his landings, and blitz Iron Man. But see, the thing is, Hulk was actually holding back the entire time throughout the World War Hulk story. And when Hulk no longer decides to hold back, well, that's when he transforms into World Breaker Hulk. And World Breaker Hulk is strong enough where his simple steps generate enough power to nearly destroy the entire East Coast. He sent Fin Fang Foom flying through a mystical barrier with Thunderclap, and this version of the Hulk was actually able to literally destroy planets with just the shockwaves from the forces of his blows. So as we got in one corner, one of the strongest iterations of the Hulk ever, World Breaker Hulk. But enter the ring, one of the strongest iterations of the Sentry ever, Death Seed Sentry. After ingesting experimental super soldier formula, the lowly Robert Reynolds became the Sentry, one of the first and mightiest superheroes. He was trapped in a constant battle with his dark side known as the Void. Out of membership with the Avengers, he joined Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers, and died after single-handedly destroying Asgard. More recently, the Sentry was resurrected by the Apocalypse Twins as one of their horsemen, the Horseman of Death. So Sentry was brought back to life by the Apocalypse Twins, using both the Life Seed and Death Seed, in order to serve alongside Banshee, Grim Reaper, and Daken as their Horsemen of Death. Once resurrected, Sentry's madness slowly increased, and he started to consider himself as the heir of Apocalypse. As Death Seed, Sentry's strength greatly increased. He was already strong enough to battle against World War Hulk, rip Ares in half, but now he's strong enough to punch Thor from planet to planet and knock him out with essentially no effort on his part. It's also strong enough to move Celestials. Sentry is able to move many times faster than the speed of light. And when he tackled Thor, they moved so fast that Sentry's velocity actually bended space and time and disoriented Thor because his body wasn't made to move so fast. Now, probably the greatest asset that Sentry has in this fight, and the thing that was increased the most by the Death Seed, was his durability. Not only can Sentry take attacks from Thor or magical lightning, not even phased at all, he's also got a remarkably fast healing factor. Like, in the fight, Thor was trying to kill him, and he smashed Sentry's head with Mjolnir. Like, completely smashed it. Yet Sentry was right back up, and in the fight, in the very next panel in the comic, he healed that quickly. I mean, Sentry even pulled back his face and showed off his brain, essentially just to prove that he could do it. But it's not just physical powers. The Death Seed process also amplified Sentry's other more versatile powers. He's able to shoot some form of dark energy from his mind that took down Wasp, and even launch energy beams from his eyes powerful enough to knock out Thor. Sentry's also able to telepathically communicate with others. He used telekinesis to throw cars and stop Mjolnir inches from his face, and even create stone golems and other life forms to fight for him. So, who wins? Well, let's break it down. Now, in my humble opinion, World War Hulk vs. Sentry is one of the most iconic fights in comics. It's actually a fight that I've referenced countless times in my videos, one that I'll reference here, and one we'll definitely talk about in the future as well. But today we're upping the ante. We're now going to be throwing some of those powerful versions of the characters ever, World Breaker Hulk and Death Seed Sentry, in a fight in order to see who comes out on top. And the first thing we need to take a look at is who is physically superior. Now, World Breaker Hulk claims to be the strongest one there is, and he kind of does back this up. Besides the fact that we can still call upon everything that Hulk did in his previous forms, like supporting the weight of a star or holding back Exodar the Celestial, Hulk has famously been able to fight against World Breaker Red She-Hulk. Just from colliding into one another, they generate enough force to destroy the planet that they were on and vaporize Wendigo, Beast, and others, as well as damage a moon with the mere shockwave of their collision. He sent Fin Fang Foom flying backwards with a thunderclap, basically turning him into a massive projectile and shattering a barrier that was strong enough to hold back an army of mindless ones. He's shaken the whole continent just by walking, nearly broke the west coast off into the Pacific Ocean. With 2 more steps, would have destroyed the east coast as well. Even just by existing, Hulk was able to generate enough energy to send heroes flying backwards, destroy cities. It's actually threatening to destroy the entire continent. Hulk also said that he was holding it back the entire time because of the fact that he was around citizens. But now he doesn't have to, and the heroes of Earth don't even try to stop him because they know they can't. He's just too freaking powerful. And yeah, I'd say that World Breaker Hulk is stronger than Death Seed Sentry. But that's not to say that Death Seed isn't superhumanly strong. Being able to easily toy with Thor, even one-shot, two-shot the God of Thunder. But with World Breaker, well, Thor, alongside other heroes, was actually told not to try and stop him because he couldn't. That this is the strongest the Hulk has ever been. Then Death Seed Sentry was able to lift up Exodar the Exterminator alongside Rogue, who absorbed all the powers from the heroes of Earth, including the Hulk. And Rogue actually couldn't lift the Celestial by herself. She required Sentry to come in and help her. You can kind of argue that this means Death Seed Sentry is just as powerful as all of the heroes of Earth. But even though Rogue had the Hulk's powers during this instance, earlier, Hulk was used to power up a machine that prevented Exodar from stepping on the Earth, and Hulk was actually strong enough to hold out and hold up the Celestial. The only reason that it failed wasn't because he failed, but the machine didn't hold up and broke. The machine failed. And even the normal Sentry was able to fight against World War Hulk to a standstill, and Sentry was almost holding back, essentially asking for Hulk to beat him up. We also know that Hulk was holding back in that instance as well. With the upgrade to World Breaker and Death Seed respectively, I'd say that Hulk got a greater strength boost than Sentry did. Hulk is stronger here. What about durability? Well, things aren't as clear and cut and dry here. World Breaker Hulk is incredibly durable. taking punches from Worldbreaker Red She-Hulk that resulted in the destruction of the planet and even nearby moons. And he even took Scar's infamous 100 trillion ton punch, brushed it off like it was nothing, instantly attacking Scar after he landed a few states over. Hulk also has an impressive regenerative ability, being able to take massive sword slashes from Worldbreaker Red She-Hulk, brushing off being pierced with the old forged blade by Scar, and as World War Hulk, he kept on fighting even after being repeatedly stabbed in the head, having his eyes sliced out, being punched through the lungs by Sentry, or even being punched all the way through his body, but out of Strange. On the other hand, Death Seed Sentry's durability is a bit more up in the air and kind of hard to nail down, because he was injured by attacks from both Thor and Wasp, with Thor even completely destroying his head. And looking at it that way, Hulk is much more durable. He's literally just tougher and harder to injure. But you could argue that Death Seed Sentry was just toying with them by letting them think he was hurt with their attacks. He's able to do this by the fact that he can manipulate his durability, and is tied into his mental state. And this is kinda backed up by the fact that Sentry has taken hits from Mjolnir before and not even been phased. When he took punches from World War Hulk, he was actually just asking for more. However, end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because even if Death Seed Sentry isn't as durable as Worldbreaker Hulk, he is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, healing factors in all of comics. He's able to regenerate from pretty much any attack that comes his way, no matter what it is. Thor destroyed his head, he just regrew it a second later. He's even ripped off his face and ripped open his head, basically just to prove that he could do it. The normal Sentry has even returned from death, being destroyed by Molecule Man or raised from existence by Morgan Le Fay, yet still came back. And since Death Seed Sentry is still Sentry, just further empowered by the Death Seed, makes sense that he could do the exact same thing here. Then, finally, we got speed. And Death Seed Sentry takes his category by a massive margin. I mean, normal Sentry is already much faster than the speed of light, being able to fly from the Earth to Saturn in an instant. But with Death Seed, he's actually fast enough to bend space and time with his velocity. He's able to go so fast, in fact, that Thor is disoriented and can't handle the velocity. And Thor is able to fly at the speed of light as well. Hulk has never shown speed anywhere close to that level, even in his Worldbreaker form. And that is a massive advantage in Sentry's corner. Because not only does it mean they'll be able to land countless more attacks and dodge Hulk's attacks, Sentry's also shown he's willing to just bull rush people off planet. Could potentially just throw Hulk into the sun, leave him stranded at outer space. The only thing that Hulk really has to counter this will be his aura, just the radiation and gamma energy that is constantly put off by his body. It sent heroes flying backwards and destroyed cities with just the shockwaves. So when Sentry flies in, he might be thrown off by those waves. But I really think Sentry is too strong and too durable to be thrown off too much, and will still be able to use his vastly superior speed against the Hulk. And this is where things really begin to take a bad turn for Worldbreaker Hulk. Because Worldbreaker Hulk is only a physical character. And don't get me wrong, the guy's an absolute beast, one of the most physically powerful characters in all of comics. But Death Seed Sentry transcends being just a physical character, and has so many powers that Hulk can't counter. Besides just being able to fly and stay out of Hulk's grasp, he's able to fire energy blast powerful enough to instantly knock out Thor. And he has telekinetic powers, stopping Thor from hitting him from Mjolnir when the hammer's only inches from his face. And since, like we said, Death Seed Sentry is just normal Sentry enhanced with the Death Seed, that means he still got his molecular manipulation abilities. He's instantly created giant sand golems to fight in his place, and most impressively, control Molecule Man and destroy him completely. Hulk doesn't really have counters for these powers, being forced to rely on his durability, just hold out and take the attacks. And honestly, I'm not sure he's durable enough to do that. Worldbreaker Hulk is an absolute beast, and I actually prefer him as a character. but Death Seed Sentry can hold its own in a physical fight. It's much, much, much faster than Hulk, and has powers that Hulk can't counter, especially his matter manipulation. Another day, Death Seed Sentry is just too much here, being equally as powerful but yet more versatile. I'm gonna favor him to come out on top in the end. Death Seed Sentry wins. But what do y'all think? I would love to hear your thoughts. Sound off in the comments down below. Also, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and turn on notifications to join the FanCo army. And I will see you next time.